Awesome. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another awesome Hack the Box live stream. As always, I am your host, Dark. Today, we are going to be talking about the Certified Web Penetration Testing certification that has been renamed the Certified Web Exploitation Specialist. Today with me, I have one of the certification's creators, Zayad. Yeah, let me go ahead. I will bring Zayad on. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Hey, Zayad. Thank you for being here.
Hey, everyone. Happy to be here.
Heck yeah. I know that you've been on a couple of these AMA live streams before, but I would be remiss if I didn't have you introduce yourself. And just for anyone that's new, could you tell them a little bit about yourself and your role within Hack the Box?
Sure. My name is Ziad Al-Madani. I'm from the Academy team. My official title is the head of content development. So I'm responsible for the Academy modules, paths, exams, and certifications. So basically the content that you deal with on Academy.
No, that's cool. No, thank you for detailing that out. I really appreciate it. Awesome. Well, before we get right into the questions, I do want to mention for everyone that is watching that you are welcome to put questions in the chat. This is an AMA. Hey, everyone in chat. Hi, DK Gamer. If you have any questions about the certification, about web pen testing in general, feel free to ask them. We'll do our best to get to all of the questions that we can. We do have a little bit of a shorter time for this AMA today, but yeah, happy to get any questions I can in there. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. We'll do a little bit of intro stuff about the certifications and then go into questions, or certification rather. With the certification, the CWES, Certified Web Exploitation Specialist, could you tell everyone just a little bit about that certification? What exactly are you studying with? What exactly are you studying if you are going to take that?
So basically, CWES, which was previously known or formerly known as CBBH, is a certificate that is focused on web penetration testing. And web pen testing grants or deserves its own certification apart from the general pen testing that we have with CPTS, because it is such a large topic and such a big attack surface for pen testing in general. If you want to pen test a network or perform basically penetration testing on a network or on any organization, you need a way into this organization. And web applications is one of the most common ways to get into that application. If an organization has servers that expose web applications or websites basically to the internet, and you are able to find vulnerabilities on those websites, then you are able to gain access to one of the computers or one of the servers on this network. And from there on, you can start pen testing the entire network and the entire organization, just like you learn with the certifications like CPTS. Obviously, having mentioned that, we should mention that there are other ways to get in. For example, in many occasions, you get given direct access to the network, so you don't have to go from outside through a web application. In some cases, you attack the Wi-Fi network and get inside that way, and there are a few other ways to get in as well.
No, thank you for covering that in such detail. If anything, I actually was writing down questions on the side just because you hit on some great points there, especially with that being a way in. And that's often something that can be missed with how important websites are, just having that gateway into a company's network. Now, we've got some awesome questions in chat that I will get to here in just a moment. Thank you, everyone, for submitting those. Really, honestly, very good questions there. One more question that I had before we go to those, just more of a general question, is who is the certification for? Who should take this? Is there a specific role? Like if I were trying to apply to become maybe an advanced penetration tester, or maybe work specifically within application security, who would you say that this is for?
So in terms of level, it is a beginner to intermediate certification. So you start with it as a beginner, and then you get up to an intermediate level of penetration testing. Obviously, then we have CWEE, which takes you from beginner all the way to being an advanced web pen tester. But if you are, let's call it an absolute beginner, you have no information or no introduction to information security or so IT or IS basically, then you can do CJCA, which is for absolute beginners, and it will get you to a level where you can start CWES. So this is in terms of the level, who is it for? But in terms of specialty, then this is perfectly suited for any penetration tester. Like I mentioned earlier, web pen testing is such a big part of pen testing, so you definitely need to scale up on this front. It is definitely good for programmers and coders, especially web developers, because many people are really good in web development, but they lack the information or the knowledge about web security, and they create good web applications that work very well, but they are very bad in security. So I really highly recommend that for developers as well. And there are a few other areas that can fit as target audience, but I think these two are the main ones.
Now, you saw me grinning while you were saying that about how web app testing is such an important part. I swear everything is a web app nowadays. Have you seen that? That nearly everything is going towards this SPA route?
Yeah, and there are applications, like you said, that are fully fledged, let's call them web applications, and some of them are, what are they called? I forgot the acronym, but they're like an app, but hosted in a web application. And it's basically an assembly app, but runs in the browser. Yeah, a PWA. So everything is available as a web application. Even if you developed a mobile app, you can still host it as a web application. And even in that case, you can still find any connections it makes to the backend, and then you perform the same web pen testing. So it is also definitely good for such cases as well.
You hit on the mobile apps, and I always forget that, yes, a lot of mobile apps are just websites that are running locally or otherwise just fetch something off the internet.
Yeah, if they have any interaction with backend services or cloud services, then the same pen testing can be done on those endpoints, because I mean those endpoints are web endpoints on their own. And this is why we call this certification, we called it web penetration tester and not web application penetration tester, because we cover much more than just web applications. We cover web in general.
Yeah, no, focusing in on general and being able to branch that out, being able to apply it to all these different areas, it's so important. Before I go off that thought, do you have anything else you wanted to add there that's not to goad you into a response? It's more of a making sure that I completed that before I move to any other questions.
I mentioned earlier that many applications these days, take a mobile app and host it as a web application. And I also mentioned that the same APIs. If the app, some apps are games or fully locally hosted, they don't need any online services. In this case, this would not apply. But if they have any backend services, then the same stuff that you learn in CWES can be applied there. But at the same time, I must mention or must kind of repeat what I just mentioned earlier, is that an important point to realize is that when you learn CWES path, you're not just focusing on web applications. And this is I think a mistake that people assume, is that you are only learning how to pen test web applications. Web is much larger than web applications. There are many cloud services and online services that have no interface. So there's no web application that you are interacting with. And they contribute to the majority of the internet, if you think about cloud services and so on. So it's very important to learn how to pen test those, even if you don't have a front.
Now, one quick follow-up question before I go to a question from chat. In the certification course, is there a specific section that focuses on API interactions, being able to interact with something that doesn't necessarily have that user interface?
Yeah, this is one of the big additions that we did with CWES, is that we added a module that is completely focused on APIs, and also enhanced the API attacks and a few other modules that are needed there. So yeah, definitely it is covered.
No, thank you for touching on that. APIs just being such a big thing, and they can be an area of discomfort, especially for folks that might not have worked with them before, because you have to get used to that request pattern of just how they work.
Yep.
Now,
Agree.
we had a great question in chat. This is something you touched on a little bit. This comes from Rayan Chalou. Did the best to not butcher your name. Now, we spoke about this a little bit with the intro. Is there a difference between the CWES and the CBBH? So the Certified Web Exploitation Specialist and then the Certified Bug Bounty Hunter certification?
Yeah, the important thing to distinguish here is that CWES or CBBH into CWES is two things in one. Number one, it's a rebranding and a rename of the entire certification. And number two, it is an update to the path itself. So first, in terms of the rename, obviously, we changed it from being focused on bug bounty hunting to being focused on web in general, which is more accurate, and which is what we intended from the beginning. Whenever we communicate about CBBH in the past, we said that this is a certification about web pen testing, and thus the rebranding. Now it is much more accurate, and it matches the market requirements, and there are many other reasons that makes this change necessary. At the same time, we also released the update to the path itself. So we changed about half of the path just after just over 3 years after the path itself was first released. We added 5 new modules, and we rewrote 5 or three other modules from scratch, basically. So they are new modules as well, and we updated a few other modules. So almost half of the path, 11 out of the 20, I think, have been updated. And this is just 3 years after we first released the path itself. So it is now more up to date. It once again, it matches the market requirements, and at the same time, we hope that the quality has also increased. So this is something we always try to do at HackTheBox Academy, is that we don't like to just deliver a path and then forget about it for 20 years. No, we like to keep it up to date. And the good thing is that anyone who unlocked the previous path or got certified in CBBH gets all of that completely free of charge.
This is a really good follow-up question to what you just mentioned. This comes from Dreaming Swapno. Can I still access the old course? Is there a way to be able to view that old content?
So the old modules that were removed from the path are still there on Academy so far, at least for now. You can still access them if you unlock them. If you have not unlocked them, then you can just buy them if you want. But obviously, they will not count toward your path completion. So if you are following up CWES, those will not count toward the path because obviously they are not part of the path anymore.
Here, let me go ahead. Now, one quick follow-up question on that. You mentioned that a number of modules have been updated, and admittedly, I'm asking this because I know you've put a lot of work into this. Are there any modules that you are particularly proud of that you recommend people to go check out? If you want to show off your work.
Obviously, it's always difficult to pick from modules. All of them are really good. I'll just say that, you just mentioned the API ones. I really highly recommend those. We have attacking GraphQL. We have API attacks. Those are really good modules, but I don't want to pick a few and just say those are the best. And what I also mentioned is that we updated half of the path because we already think that the other half that we did not update is already up to date and at the highest quality. So there's nothing needed to be done. So now we believe all of it is up to date and all of it is at the highest quality.
What, you don't like being made to pick a favorite child? You don't like me giving you a Sophie's choice with that?
All 20 are really good.
Oh gosh. Let me go ahead and moving on from that. No, I figured just because you have worked on it a lot, it's always fun to be able to talk about your work, especially if there's a module that you feel it came out of the oven looking really good, and it's just something you want people to be able to play around with. So no, thank you for touching on that. We do have a great follow-up question. This one comes from Joshua Vega. Is the exam different? So this is the comparison between CWES and the CBBH. Did the exam change a lot between those?
As always, the content of the exam itself is, we cannot talk about it because this is, I mean, we don't want to spoil anything, and this information is, let's say, restricted. And this is the case with all exams within HackTheBox Academy, not just this one. What we can say is that the path does prepare you for the exam, and you will be able to pass the exam by completing the path. And this is also the same for all of our paths and certifications. So that's all I can say. I think you're muted.
You're right. I muted myself to take a drink of water. That was, dang it, no spoilers today. That's what that joke was. There we go. Let me go ahead. We touched on this the last time in our last AMA with yourself and Crowlight. This comes from I am Pat. Oh goodness, I don't want to butcher your name. Can you share your methodology of note taking? I know we have that module. Do you want to speak on that just a little bit?
So this is something that comes quite often, and understandably so, because people, I mean, the better your note taking is, the higher, let's say, quality your learning will be. It is definitely something that benefits you in the future as well. So we do understand why students keep asking about it, and we do have a couple of modules covering that. If I remember correctly, maybe setting up and documenting and reporting. Well, I think these two modules, but we definitely have it covered in at least two modules. But we did consider creating a module just on note taking. The reason we have not done so far is because there are so many ways that students can take notes, and each one is good in its own way. And we don't want students to be restricted into one method that we tell them that this is the best way, and then they will not try any other method. For example, this question is specifically asking me about my method of note taking. I use like I mentioned last time, the developer's perspective. I use just markdown files, and I add them to a Git repo so I can just track changes. And if I ever delete something, I can go back to it. Very simple, but this may not work for everyone. It may be overly complicated, being a markdown file. Some people may prefer an application like Obsidian or Notion. So that's the exact reason we have not done an entire module just on note taking, because it would be too restrictive for students and too limiting, perhaps.
I heard that non-answer. I don't know what you're talking about. No, you're right. It's note taking is such a personal experience. I'm sure that that's been your experience too with this. Of you understand what you need to take notes on. Here, let's go ahead, real quick. Just because I like to make sure that you can see the love from the community, just a little bit of love from HashCloud on Twitch. Just wanted to say love the platform and all that goes on behind the scenes, making sure I read that out for any people that are listening to this as a podcast. But just a little bit of love there. Here, let's go ahead. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we've spoken on that one. Chat, you're submitting some really awesome questions. Thank you, everyone, for the questions that you have there. We're touching on a lot of really great stuff. And if anything, I have a lot that are starred. So even if I'm jumping around a little bit, there's a good chance I'm still going to get to your question. I just have them flagged in our chat history. Let me go ahead. Here we go. This one comes from Thickalo, which is just a great username. Is there going to be a CWES prep track with web challenges or machines? So maybe on the normal platform, not necessarily Academy.
Yeah, I think the question talks about the HackTheBox main platform or the labs platform that has the challenges and the boxes. And the reason, obviously, we have a track for CPTS, for example. But the reason we have not done so for CWES so far is that boxes are usually, or always, I think, I'm not sure if this has been changed, but I don't think so. They have a user and a root flag. And if web is covered, it is usually on the user flag, and then you have to do other kind of pen testing for the root flag. And obviously, some boxes don't even have web applications or web vectors. So if we do create a track with a bunch of boxes, then students will assume that CWES covers the entirety of those boxes. And this will not be the case, because it would only be covering the first part of it. So that's the reason we have not done this so far, is because it's not very accurate. We cannot find boxes that are just about web. So it would not make a lot of sense.
Not to put you on the spot a little bit, do you have any boxes that you think are closer or more closely related to the certification? Any that are kind of honorable mentions in that way? I realize I am putting you on the spot.
No, once again, if I mention any boxes, they will have, even in the best cases, only half of them would be related to web, and then the other half would be like Linux privilege escalation or Windows privilege escalation and so on. I would say the majority of easy and medium boxes that have a web vector would fit in CWES, because this is the difficulty that we targeted, and they would also probably fit with CPTS as well. So that's all I can say. Yeah.
No, I realized I put you on the spot for that, and that it's a great explanation just because you're spot on. I was thinking back with my experiences going through the labs, and yeah, you're right. It's always, when there's web at play, it seems like it's the ingress. It's that entry point for the user flag. I don't think I've really ever seen it for the root flag for privilege escalation, unless it was a service that was running only internally on the machine. So no, if anything, it kind of speaks to the nuance of that question. There, let's go ahead. Before I move on, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to throw out there for that one?
No, that's all.
Oh, thank you. Let me go ahead. This is a really interesting question, and I realize there's probably a limit to what you'll be able to speak to on this. This is how the CWES would work with other certifications that are out there in industry. So would the CWES help prepare for web application pen testing and possibly the OSCP, the Offensive Security Certified Professional? Now, I know we can't speak on their certification. Do you think that this gives you a well-rounded understanding of web pen testing that you would be able to apply it to other certifications?
Yeah, I think CWES prepares you at the intermediate level of penetration testing, part of which is to be like basically an intermediate level pen tester. So if you want to do web pen testing at this level, it should cover it. And I always say that CWES covers up to 80% of organizations, because the majority of organizations don't need advanced web pen testing that is covered in CWEE. But obviously, those who do need the max amount of security, like banks and governments and so on, then they will need the advanced web pen testing like CWEE. So that's the first point. CWES covers the vast majority of web pen testing and web vulnerabilities, let's say. I cannot speak on OSCP, obviously, because it's a different company, different organization. I'm not up to date with their content and their path. But if their level of pen testing is the intermediate level, then I would say CWES definitely covers that level of at least the web part of it. For the last part of the question, a career in CWES, like I said, there are two options. Number one, you are a web developer and you want to create secure web applications. This definitely would be something that makes you stand out, is that you are not only a web developer, but your applications are also secure, and you can show that I have this web pen testing certification, which is not easy for developers, and I still have it. So whenever you do a new project, you can tell them that I create secure applications, so you don't need to be worried on this part. And an application that is developed from the get-go or from the start as being secure is always much more secure than something that is not secure and then pen tested after the fact. So that's if you are a web developer. If you are a pen tester, obviously this will make you much better at web pen testing.
Mm-hmm. Here, thank you for responding to the follow-up on that as well. Let me go ahead and pull up. This is a question that is related to what we just spoke on. This comes from SMB Sid. Do we need a developer background to be good as a pen tester? They have concerns about web app being just such a large area to learn. I know it's always very difficult, especially looking at this part of cybersecurity. It has a lot of different areas that it covers. Do you think that dev background is something that is necessary?
So a dev background for CWES is not required, but it definitely does help if you already have it. You do not need it, though, to pass the exam or to be even a web pen tester at this level. As for CWEE, the more advanced certification of web pen testing, then it is required because you will need to do secure coding or secure code review, and you need to be able to understand the code base and the code itself. And that's where it is needed. And we also teach it in the advanced path. So for CWES itself, it is not required. If you already have it, it definitely does help.
Now, I have one follow-up question. This is admittedly just from my notes. Does the course focus on any particular languages? Are there any languages that are beneficial to have coming into the course, or am I okay to kind of go in blind?
It does not focus on any single language. We try to cover multiple languages, but at this level, we are kind of covering the wider scope or aspects of web vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities themselves will always be the same regardless of the language you use. For example, if you have an SQL injection in your web application, it would not matter if it was developed in PHP or JavaScript or anything else, because you would be injecting into the database directly. And that's why we have SQL injections for MySQL, and then we have for like Windows Server or SQL Server. So for every different database, we have something else. And the same goes for XSS. If there's an XSS vulnerability, you would be injecting into the front end HTML and not into the web application. So for CWES, the language is not really relevant. And that's also why I said a web background is not really required. When it comes to CWEE, I always try to answer for this one and also for the advanced one, because there are differences. For CWEE, then yes, the language does matter, because we are talking about advanced vulnerabilities that may be language specific. And that's why we try to cover many languages. In some of the vulnerabilities, it is the same regardless of the language, but in some other, especially for the white box ones, it does actually matter which language you use. And we try to cover Java, JavaScript, PHP, C#, and many other languages in CWEE. As a quick note, maybe I mentioned this earlier. So we have CWES, and then the advanced one is CWEE. So the first one is Certified Web Exploitation Expert. And then the second one is, the first one is Specialist, and the second one is Expert. So that's the difference, the last letter or the last character.
Now, one quick follow-up question on that. Do you think it is doable to go from one certification to the other? I believe it was the CWES to the CWEE.
Definitely. It was definitely intended to be this way. Once you finish CWES, then you would be in a perfect position to start CWEE. A lot of people ask us if they can jump directly into CWEE. They say, we have a level of pen testing. Can we jump directly? And we tell them you can, but I mean, at least take a look at the CWES path and make sure that you know everything in it. Because everything we cover in CWEE, we take it for granted that you know everything in CWES. So you can jump directly into CWEE, but you may struggle. And if you do, then just go back to CWES and try to cover everything in it.
No, that's a good approach. Thank you for breaking that down. Now, let's see. I have a question here that I'm not sure if you're aware of any info on this or can speak on this. This comes from I am Patel Arman. I think HackTheBox has a partnership with Yoga Shah, right? Can I get accepted into their private program after the CWES? So I would imagine that's a private bug bounty platform. Do you know anything about that? Are you comfortable speaking on that?
I don't know anything about it, so I can't answer.
Okay.
I mean, from the academy perspective, we don't have anything to do with them. Maybe other aspects from HackTheBox, but I'm not sure.
No, thank you for taking your best stab at that, or providing the context that you do have. Patel, you may have some luck asking about that in the Discord server as well, but I wanted to make sure I touched on that. Here, one moment. Kind of an easier question for you. This one also comes from Thickalo. I aspire to get all HackTheBox certs. Do you think that this is a doable goal? Do you think that that's realistic to aspire to that?
I think it is definitely possible. And it is possible because when we started HackTheBox Academy and we started creating modules and certifications, we really look forward to create advanced content, very niche content. But we intentionally delayed that because we wanted to lay the foundations first, like CPTS and CWES, exactly for this reason. So for beginners, if they want to do the advanced stuff, they have the ability and the ladder to start from the beginner modules and then go to the advanced stuff. So if you want to do any advanced certification on Academy, then you have CJCA, and then you have, for example, CWES, and then you have CWEE. So you can begin from being an absolute beginner and get all the way to being an expert in pen testing. And you can do the same for all other certifications. Now, having said that, so you asked whether you can, is it doable? It is definitely doable. Is this advisable, or is this a good idea? Then people, some people say it is, and some people say it's not. I'm from the point of view that say it is always better to start specializing in a field once you get more advanced. So you cannot be an expert, and I mean, I'm not sure if you can or cannot, but it is less likely to find someone who is an expert in blue teaming, an expert in detection engineering, an expert in web pen testing and network pen testing, an expert in web exploitation. And even if they are at an expert level in all of them, they will not be at a very niche level. I mean, if they combine all of this knowledge and put it in just web pen testing, then they would be able to reach much more advanced levels. So basically, I always advise people to specialize. You can start with CJCA, see which you like, blue teaming or red teaming, or basically offensive or defensive. If you like offensive, then you can perhaps try CPTS or CWES, see which you prefer, general pen testing or web pen testing. If you prefer web pen testing, then get into CWE. You are getting narrower and narrower. After you finish CWE, try to do advanced bug bounty hunting, advanced code reviews, and so on. And then, for example, you pick one vulnerability in web pen testing that you can be among the best in the world in this vulnerability. If anyone needs a bug bounty program in this vulnerability, they would come to you. This way, you would be the best in the field. But if you don't focus on anything and you just do everything, it is unlikely that you will become the best in the field in all of those. Some people can, I'm sure, but the general answer is that it's not advisable.
What is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's how it goes, right?
I mean, even if you look at athletes, for example, pick the best athlete in any sport. There are athletes that may have tried a couple of sports, but if they are the best, then they are usually not only the best in their sport, a single sport, but also in a single position. For example, if you talk about football or soccer, you cannot find someone who is the best forward and the best defense. It's not possible. And at the same time, in basketball, let's take Michael Jordan. He was in a specific position. He will not be the best in two positions. Even if those people who are the best of the best and they train every single day and they take it to levels where no other person has done before, they still specialize. So what does that tell you?
No, thank you for speaking to that in such depth. That was, if anything, you actually hit on several other questions that I had lined up, looking at a roadmap, looking at what is the junior certification to take beforehand. Yeah, no, thank you for, again, speaking to that in such depth. Let me go ahead. I'm going to give you kind of change gears here. This question comes from YoVader0. Do we need to have a working knowledge of networking for the cybersecurity roadmap, or is network basics enough? So I guess focusing that question, do you need to have a solid foundation? Do you need to be an expert in networking before taking the CWES?
So if you're talking about CWES, then it is not a requirement. It may help in some occasions, but it is definitely not a requirement. But if you're talking about CPTS, like general pen testing, then this is a requirement, but it is also covered in the CPTS path. And the extra foundational parts that are very beginner friendly, they are covered in CJCA. So they are definitely required for pen testing, but once again, they are covered in the path.
Love that it comes batteries included. It's such a good approach just to have that be so inclusive with the information that you're including. Let me go ahead. Before I move on to this question, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to touch on for that last one?
No, all good. I mean, we try to make all of our certifications. This is one of the goals we have, that the certification itself will be comprehensive. So you do not need any external resources or any other references. If you just get enrolled in the path, you need everything to pass the exam. And when we say you pass the exam, because the exam is so advanced and it is up to market requirements, so that also means that you will be market ready for this level.
No, thank you for the extra thoughts on that. Don't mind me, I was reading a question in chat here as well. Let me go ahead. I'll move on to the question that I have on the screen from Thickolo. The question reads, what was the reasoning behind not covering Oauth and JWT's Java Web Tokens, as they are pretty common in web app pen testing? What was the reasoning with that, with the course design? I realize that's a very specific shift.
No, I mean, both of these are covered in detail, but in CWE. So when we were designing the path, we considered those to be a little bit more advanced than what we wanted to cover in CWES. So we moved them to CWE, and they are covered there.
Let's see. By chance, just out of curiosity, do you know the module that those are covered in?
Yeah, it is attacking authentication mechanisms. Let me just make sure that this is the correct title.
If you have a link to that too, I can
yeah.
throw that in chat for everyone.
Attacking authentication mechanisms. I have the internal. I mean the logged in link. So you can, if you are a student or logged in within Academy, you can just use this link.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and post that in our chat. Cool. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot for that one. I know that that was a very specific shift for that. Let's see. Ooh, that's a fun one. Yeah, we'll go to a little bit of an easier question. This comes from Tahela again. What module was a challenge for you, right? Did you find that with creating this course or working on this course, there were any modules that really stuck out just being a little bit more difficult to create?
I mean, if it is about the modules that I wrote personally, and not, I mean, in Academy in general, I would say the logic box module, but it is in CWEE. It is not part of CWES. Was considerably challenging because the areas that we wanted to cover about logic bugs, there are no other courses or online training that you can just learn and create a course. We had to read, or I had to read a lot of research about it, and a lot of research papers and a few books just to be able to formulate the module structure. And then after that, I mean, if this was not enough, I also needed a large code base for me to be able to thoroughly showcase these logic bugs. So I had to recreate Academy from scratch, an Academy replica basically, and it was created using a MERN stack, which is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. Obviously, the real Academy is based on Vue, so this is just a replica. I eyeballed everything and recreated it. Mm-hmm. So this took a lot of time as well, but it was necessary to teach the course itself. So yeah, I suppose that was definitely a challenge to write.
That's a really cool process to create that code base. Now, I have a follow-up question because that it makes me think one of recreating an environment locally to be able to do safe pen testing on it, but that's just a fun experience being able to explore those logic bugs. Did you find any that really stuck out to you? Is there anything that, I guess getting to the other part of this question, did you learn anything interesting or any tips or tricks when you were going through this? Anything that jumped out at you?
Definitely learned a lot of things. I mean, I knew I liked logic bugs or web logic bugs to be specific, but as I do more research, obviously I learn. I always mention, especially to the team within Academy, that we always learn about 10 times the amount, or at least prepare 10 times the amount that ends up being in the module. So if you see a module that is 20 sections, we probably have contents enough for 200 sections, or not content enough, but because some of it is repeated, right? But you read this much to be able to prepare this course. So you definitely learn a lot as you prepare for the module. And as I was, for this module specifically, the logic bugs, as I was reading those research papers, I found so many logic bugs, but you can kind of categorize them into fields, but I could not find any official categorization. So what kind of logic bugs are there, or how can I split them? So I made this categorization myself as, the official HackTheBox Academy logic bugs categorization. And the current fun fact is that the current logic bugs module only covers half of it. So hopefully one day we will be able to cover the other half of it.
No, that's really interesting. If anything, I have a bit of a selfish question that I'd like to ask. Did any of the research papers you read, anything jump out at you? Do you have any honorable mentions you'd like to link here?
I mean, this was like 3 years ago, so I don't remember.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I'd like to time travel for a moment. Go ahead. Yeah, I realize that's been a little bit of time there. Let me go ahead and I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. We spoke about going from the CWES to the CWE, so going from the specialist to the expert level. This is just a very direct question. is achieving the CWES certification confirmation that one can start on the CWEE?
Yes, definitely. This is the best way to make sure that you are ready to start CWEE. If you are certified in CWES, then you can just jump directly to CWEE. Some people may ask, you did mention that you need some kind of dev experience, or you need maybe programming experience. This is partly covered in the path. We don't obviously teach like full-on Python and full-on PHP programming, but it is introduced in the path. And as you do the path, if you have no experience whatsoever, you also would know how to approach those. But the path itself is fully, as long as you follow up everything that is mentioned in the path, you will be able to know how to read those languages, and you will build this experience as you do the CWEE path.
One moment. I thank you for speaking on that again, especially in that direct manner, just because that boundary, being able to move, it almost reminds me of the phrase tutorial hell, where you kind of want to put yourself in that box of, am I ready for this next stage? And it's so empowering hearing that you can go from one certification to another. Now, one follow-up question on that for the CWES, so the specialist level. Are there any exercises that you recommend that are a good indicator of if you are ready for that, or do you think it would really be the CJES, or goodness, the junior certification? Do you think that that's a better indicator of that you're ready for the specialist certification?
So CWES, unlike CWEE, for CWES, you can start it directly if you have some experience in information security. If you don't, or you're not sure, you can always just start the certificate and see how you do. If you struggle, then you can go back to CJCA. You can also take a look at CJCA and see the web-related content there and complete those, or at least make sure that you know them. And then you can start with CWES. But in general, you can start it and see how you do.
All right, I've got a curveball for you for your next one. We're gonna skip around in topics a little bit. Ghost Inject asks a question about AI and using that exam day or for guidance. I'm gonna make this question a little bit broader. Is the use of AI allowed when you are studying or when you're taking the exam?
Yeah, so all of our exams are designed to imitate or replicate real life scenarios. And that's why the exam is either 7 days or 10 days, depending on the certification, is because in a real life engagement, you will not be given 24 hours. You work from 12 a.m. until 12 a.m. the next day, just try to finish an engagement. You are usually given a week or 2 weeks to finish this engagement, whether it's pen testing or web pen testing. You can do it remotely, or you can attend the organization and perform your pen testing there. But it's usually, anyone with experience would tell you that it doesn't take 24 consecutive hours, but rather they will give you 5 days or 10 days. So that's why we made our exams this way. And at the same time, we want this to be a similar experience to what you will face in real life. And in real life, you are allowed to use ChatGPT and whatever you want. Because obviously, whatever helps you in finding the vulnerabilities and whatever helps you in identifying solutions to patch those vulnerabilities is definitely welcome. And in a real life scenario, you would not say, I would not use ChatGPT. Just to be fair, I would try to find everything on my own. And if I miss anything, then because the attackers will not give you this advantage and will tell you, we will not use ChatGPT. You don't use ChatGPT. So we're just trying to make it as close as possible to real engagements.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I thank you for rolling with that curveball. Just kind of an interesting question, especially with, AI becoming so commonplace, while more search engine or, general, just being able to ask AI questions. Yeah, let me go ahead. We're going to change gears one more time here. SMB Sid had one follow-up question. They said, hi, Zayad, personal question. I admire your talent. How long have you been practicing to reach this level?
So if it's about information or pen testing in general, I would say I officially started maybe in 2015 or 2016. But obviously, I had some experience because I did do my bachelor's degree in computer science. So I was studying that. And all of us IT nerds, I'm sure from the age of 6, we were picking at PCs and trying to assemble them. So it depends on the exact start that you mean. But when it comes to pen testing, yeah, like I said, maybe late 2015 or early 2016. But at the same time, you don't need to wait 10 years to get at an advanced level. I've seen people who get really advanced in just 2 or 3 years. And let's say that someone is an absolute beginner, as long as they have the will and they are ready to put the time, and they have the, let's say, the readiness to do it. They can just start with CJCA. Maybe it will take them 3-4 months to finish it, and then they can do CWES in the remainder of the year, and then they can take the next year to do CWE, and then all of a sudden, from being an absolute beginner in IT, just in 2 years you are advanced in web pen testing. So time is not, I mean, you don't really need 10 years or something to get at an advanced level, and as long as you put your time into it, you can definitely get very good in a relatively short time.
I have a follow-up question. This one comes from Azurian786, kind of related to that pathway of being able to progress as a web hacker. Azarian asks, can you recommend a detailed learning pathway, like resources, tools, and skills? Feel free to run with this question however you want. I should run, and any prerequisites like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more for a beginner interested in web hacking. So do you have any recommendations for someone that is beginning here?
As I always say, the path itself is fully comprehensive. You don't need anything to pass the exam and to become to reach this level of intermediate level of web pen testing. If you are an absolute beginner, you can always do CJCA, and it does cover the requirements for CWES. So it does have a few modules about web and about intro to web, and about web pen testing, basic web pen testing, web requests, and so on. So you can do that if you're not sure, but you don't need any external resources. So you just need these two if you are an absolute beginner.
The all-inclusive approach, just touching on that again, really appreciate that. That battery's included. It makes it much more approachable. And just as myself, as someone who works in the industry as well, it's so cool to see that come into the course design, is it really feels that you're trying to take care of the students that are coming to the course. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree, and this is because we appreciate people. Committing to academy and picking academy among all other competitors, let's say, and they putting their hard-earned cash into buying these courses. So we don't want them to end up having to go to other resources and having to use to read papers or to go to other platforms just to learn this. If you pick HackTheBox CWES, then you only need this, and you will end up at an intermediate level of web pen testing. And that's all you need, and that's exactly what you said, yeah. Because we appreciate what they said and what they did, and we don't want them to have to go somewhere else to be able to reach this level.
Follow-up question that I just thought of and realized I should have probably asked this a little bit earlier. How much time, if you were to give it a ballpark, in maybe like a month or like 4 weeks, do you have an estimate of how long it would take someone to go through the course?
So all of our modules, and thus all of our paths as well, have an expected completion duration, let's say. So for CWES, we mentioned 22 days, but this must be understood as 22 working days, and each working day is 8 hours. So it will take you 22 times 8 hours to finish the entire path. And this is the average, let's say. For some people, it will take a little bit less. For some people, it will take a little bit more. But this is the average that we estimated based on experiences, and also based on the people who are completing the path and the module. So 22 working days. So that does not mean that you will finish it in 22 days in a month. Most likely, this translates to maybe a couple of months.
Mm-hmm. I put in chat just for funsies the quick maths on that. That is 176 hours that you have mapped out there. Let's go ahead. Quick note for everyone in chat. Thank you again for all of the awesome questions. Y'all, especially everyone that's sharing their experiences with the exam. Yeah, we'll touch on that one with Black Friday very briefly. But no, thank you everyone for asking questions in chat, sharing your experiences, helping others. Really, it just shows the awesome power of the community and all the awesome folks in the community. So no, thank you everyone for being here and for asking questions there. One quick note on questions: if I skip over yours or it feels like I might have gone past it, it may be something that I already answered a little bit earlier in the live stream. We will have this go up as a full recording on YouTube, and then we will also have this as a podcast on Spotify. So that will be up later. But yeah, no, thank you everyone for the great questions. Give you a little bit of a mental breather there for a second, Zayad. Let me go ahead. And we have another question here from Patel. I'm about to complete the CWES path and will take the exam next week. Do you have any tips for passing the exam?
So, and this is a question that we get quite often. And the answer that we usually give applies to all of our exams, is that as long as you are comfortable with all of the content within the modules in the path, especially the skills assessments, if you are able to solve them and understand all of them, then you should generally be ready to take the exam. And one of the reasons we give 2 attempts for every voucher, so you get to 1 attempt and then another free attempt, is that you can just start the first attempt and see how you do. You can always use it as a test run, to assess your skills, where you stand. And then no matter how well you do, if you get 0 points or you get 80 points or you get 60 points, whatever amount of points you get, and no matter how well you do with the report, if it's a good report or a bad report, you will get very detailed feedback on that. And you will know exactly what you need, which modules you need to focus on, what you need to improve, and what you need to improve in your report. And then you can just take all of this feedback and focus on it, and then just set your second attempt.
Follow-up question for those in chat that might be wondering, these are humans grading the exam, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Perfect. No, thank you. It's just a mark of quality, and it's worthwhile mentioning there, especially in the age of, can we replace our entire workforce with AI? That's not for us, but more of just the broad theme of everybody saying, yeah, we can just replace everything. That surely didn't impact AWS being down a couple times this last week. But anyways, speaking about the exam, we have a really interesting question here from Kelly. Take this question however you want to run with it. What is the difficulty level for the exams? How would you describe that?
I cannot talk about specifics on the exam, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, because we don't want to spoil the exam. And I mean, the exam itself is considered to be, let's say, restricted. We cannot talk about it, or confidential, I rather say. What I would say, it is the same difficulty as the path. So just take a look at the modules in the path, and it should be in a similar difficulty, because as we keep saying, if you finish the path and you complete all of the exercises, you should be ready to pass the exam itself. And the path also prepares you for the exam. So ergo, it is on a similar difficulty.
But that's a really great comparison. Do you find, I realize this might be a challenging question to answer. Do you find that maybe some of the modules at the end of the path are kind of good capstone evaluations of, am I ready for taking the exam? Maybe some of the more difficult ones just at the end. Let me know if you want me to rephrase that question.
No, I understand. All of our paths are, we order the modules in a very specific order, so they are not randomly ordered. And one of the not the only requirement, or not the only thing we take into consideration when we order them, but one of them is difficulty. So you can see that the difficulty goes from easier modules to more difficult modules at the end of any path, whether it's CJCA, CWES, CWEE. This is always the case. So you can gradually take the student from a lower, or let's say a more beginner level, to a more intermediate level, and then to a more advanced level. So because of that, the modules at the end tend to be more difficult, and maybe if they are for you more challenging, then maybe they can be a good preparation for the exam. But like I said, the exam is comprehensive and it covers from the majority of the modules. So even the easier parts, you need to at least understand them to be able to pass the exam.
Here, let me go ahead. This is a question that I've seen asked in chat a couple times, and I'm not sure if you are aware of if we have any upcoming deals. This has been asked in a couple different forms. Do you know if we have any deals coming up for Black Friday?
I mean, this is not exactly my specialty. Let's say I'd leave it for the marketing team, but keep an eye out and see whatever announcements we have coming soon.
Oh, Thank you for taking a stab at that. I wasn't sure because I figured that that's probably more of a marketing and sales thing, but figured it was. Oh, Emma confirmed in chat there are no Black Friday deals this time around. Did you have any extra thoughts you wanted to throw in before I jump to the next question?
No.
Awesome. Just a heads up, we are getting close to the end of our time. We have about 5 or so minutes left in the AMA. That being said, if there's any other questions, feel free to put any in chat. I'll do my best to get to them. Let me go ahead and here is one. Do you recall? I don't think we've already touched on this one, correct?
No, I did talk that the modules at the end tend to be more challenging. But I wouldn't say there are any. If you want to read the question first.
Yeah. No, thank you. Just for our audio listeners, in your opinion, what are the most challenging aspects of the CWES?
Yeah, so once again, I did mention that the modules tend to be ordered in difficulty. Not specifically, there is, like I said, many things we take into consideration. But in general, they flow from easier to more advanced. So the modules towards the end tend to be a little bit more difficult, especially, let's say, when you reach the end of the path and then you take a look back at the modules at the beginning, they will most likely be, you will find them easier. But having said that, I don't think anything should be challenging because everything should be explained very well. And I think this is one of the indications of a good path. If you find the exam is let's say at the market level, it is market ready. If it's an advanced exam, then it is a very challenging exam. And I mean, people know that HackTheBox exams are not easy. So if you do sit the exam and you breeze through it, or you do very well, or you pass, then this just probably speaks out at the level of the path itself because it prepared you well. So I wouldn't say anything in it is challenging because you should be well prepared to complete any modules in the path.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, just appreciation for that batteries included approach, just being able to know with confidence that you have had experiences or had exposure to what you're going to be graded on. Here, let me go ahead. I know that this is something that we have spoken on already, but this is a question that I've seen echoed a couple times. Just to touch on this again, since we're near the end, and for anyone that might not have caught it, and it is a really important question. Unknown101, that's a fun name, asks, should beginners jump straight into the CWES path, or is there a foundational track or specific skills they should focus on first?
So once again, you can start CWES directly, but if you are an absolute beginner to information security or information technology, then the recommendation is generally to start with CJCA. But let's say someone is a web developer, they don't really want to become a pen tester, and they don't want to explore the entire CJCA about blue and red and offensive and defensive. They just want to do CWES, so they get to an intermediate level of knowledge about web security. They can jump directly to it. If they are not sure, they can take a look at CJCA, the web modules there, in CJCA, and either complete them or make sure that they know them. If they are a developer, they will most likely know them because the modules about web in CJCA are intro to web applications, web requests, and so on. And developers, they usually know them. But if they don't, they can just complete this portion of CJCA and jump directly to CWES. So to summarize, if you are only interested in intermediate level of web pen testing, then you can jump directly to it. If you're not sure, do the parts in CJCA. But in general, if you are a beginner, you should generally start with CJCA.
And while you were speaking, I added a couple links in chat. I linked the CJCA and then also the page for the CWES, just for anyone that is curious. Those are just direct links to the course info pages there. Let me go ahead. We have just a little bit of time left, so we're going to hit on just a couple quick questions here. Next question that we have is just asking about any updates. Are you currently working on new modules for the CWES? Do you have any more updates in the pipeline at this time?
No, obviously we have just recently updated it, right, from CBBH to CWES, and this, as I mentioned earlier, it came with an entire path overhaul and update. So all of the updates were already released. There's nothing coming soon. We usually tend to update our paths every few years. So maybe there is another update coming, but it will not be soon because this has just come out.
Here, one last question before I go into a couple wrap up items. We have a question from MiniQ. This question asked about industry recognition, and I'm going to take this a little bit and run with it. So MiniQ asked, how is the recognition? So how can you have your certification recognized? Do you have any advice on being able to speak to that and being able to utilize that in job interviews or advertising yourself?
So two things. If you are talking about whether the industry recognizes HackTheBox Academy certifications, then definitely HackTheBox is very known for its quality and high standards. And people know in general, if HackTheBox releases a certificate, then it must be a very good quality certifications, especially for CPTS and CWES, or formerly known as CBBH. We see it more and more in job applications and in job requirements. As for example, if there's a job for web pen testing, then we tend to see CBBH these days. So it is definitely becoming more and more known. And as time goes, these just tend to get more known. So they need time, but since it's been now 3 to 4 years for those, so I would say they are quite well known in the industry. In terms of whether you need a certification to get a job or not, I would say it's not unless it is like let's say a government position where they have a strict requirement for a certain certification, then this may be required. But other than that, usually you need the knowledge that you gain from certifications and not the actual certification itself. A certification is always good for you to take as a milestone that you have in this year you have reached this level, or for something to show for your work or everything that you've learned, so you can show the hiring managers and everyone that you have actually passed this exam. But what you need for the job itself is the knowledge that you gain from the path. So always focus on that, and you should be good.
One quick follow-up on that. I can leave the question on the screen here for a moment. If I was in a job interview and I wanted to be able to speak to this, do you recommend that? So to give the people that I'm interviewing with, giving them some knowledge, some insight in the certification, do you recommend giving them a link just to the course overview page? Do you think that that's maybe the best way to communicate that? Any advice on that, just for kind of how to be able to share that?
Yeah, and when I said that the knowledge is what you need for you to complete the job, this also helps in an interview, because when you are doing an interview, let's say for a web pen tester role, then you have already learned a lot of stuff and so many topics as you were doing CWES. So you have a lot to talk about. You can talk about, let's say, file inclusion, command injection, XSS, and for the new modules, attacking, you can say that I know how to attack GraphQL, I know how to attack API endpoints. So you can talk about the experience that you have and the different exercises and challenges. You can consider them as attacks that you have done. So you can talk that I've done an attack that was, you can describe the attack basically. It was like this and that, and I did this and that, and I was able to exploit it. So this is all experience that you can talk about in interviews. At the same time, if you want to send specifications about the certification that you hold, you can always share the link, and they can also go through it and read it, and they would know exactly what you have been able, or what you were certified for.
If you saw me laughing to myself, I just had it processed that MiniQ's avatar was Clippy. I did not see that in the smaller preview that I had. Love your avatar there. Are you okay for one more question? We got a really good one from Twitch.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Here. Yeah. So this one comes from Abedel Rahman. To my best to not butcher your name. I have the CPTS, but I still struggle with hard web CTF challenges. Would the CWEE or I'm going to broaden this a little bit, or the CWES certification help me bridge that gap and get better at solving them?
Yeah, I would say CWEE is definitely the way to go. If people think that the only way to go to CWEE is through CWES, and while this is accurate because first of all, it does lead you there and it covers everything that you need, but CPTS also leads to CWEE because it is an advanced certification, and CPTS covers roughly half of CWES. So if you have CPTS, you should be good to jump directly into CWEE. You may want to take a look at CWES see among the second half that was not covered in CPTS, if there is anything you are weak on and you want to just take a refresher on. Otherwise, you can just jump directly into CWE, and I'm sure that by the time you finish it, you will definitely be able to handle those challenges.
There we go. No, thank you for touching on that. It's an actionable way to be able to use this, even without necessarily a position. So really important question. Thank you for letting me slip that in there. Let me go ahead. I think that about does it for our questions. I know we're about at the end of our time. Before I go through just any wrap up stuff, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to throw out there? Anything that we didn't get to? Anything that you wanted to touch on? I realize I've been putting you on the spot for, over an hour now, but more of just if you had anything that I missed or maybe have gone past.
No, I think it's just a good opportunity to mention that, with the update of CBBH into CWES, we definitely have this in mind for all of our certifications. We definitely don't want to just create a certification and just leave it out there to basically become outdated. We want to, first of all, release certifications that are, number one, comprehensive. Number two, they are high quality, so they are not just random content. We put a lot of effort into making those modules and picking the scope and what to cover in those modules and certifications. So when they come out, we hope that they are at the highest possible standard. But at the same time, we really care about keeping them up to date. So we would be updating our certifications and our paths every few years to make sure that whenever they start getting a little bit outdated, we would update them and increase the quality and make sure that they are market ready. And this is another just something that would be encouraging for anyone who wants to get into those paths, because not only will they be able to complete the path and get market ready today, but whenever the paths receive an update, they can just get back and consider it as a refresher, and it will be free of charge. So they can just get refreshed once again, and they can get up to date with the new modules that are just added, which is, I think, is a win-win for everyone.
No, without a doubt. If anything, just being someone else that's in the industry, I appreciate the commitment to quality. And that's one of the things that I love to be able to show off with the live streams that we have, just because as someone that also works in HackTheBox, I can tell, I see how much work, at least to some degree, how much work and effort that you and your team and everyone over on content puts in on this. And I appreciate you speaking to that, just because that quality, I'd say this, I realize I'm saying this as, another employee, but still it's worth mentioning just that quality really is there, that I think it's very fair to say that you guys do deeply care about this. I realize I'm giving you compliments that might be hard to take, but at least my 2 cents there. Before I cut you off, I didn't want to cut off any thoughts there. Did you have anything else you wanted to add in?
No, I think that's it. And thanks everyone for attending and for being with us. And we also give a big shout out from the entire Academy team for anyone who's doing Academy modules and doing Academy Pass and certifications.
Heck yeah. Love the shout outs too. Well, that is going to do it for our AMA. Zayad, did you have any socials or anything you'd like me to link out there for you?
I do have a Twitter account and a YouTube channel that I add some of the talks I do for HackTheBox. But just search my name and you should find me.
Yeah, you definitely have it's a very unique handle in that it's very easy to search, which is really nice. Heck yeah. Awesome. No, thank you for your time today. That is going to do it for our AMA here. For anyone, if you have any other questions, if you're curious and want to listen through this from the start, the recording of this is going to be up on YouTube here shortly. Then we will also have an audio-only version that goes up as a podcast on Spotify. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Really great way, especially if you want to listen to this while you're doing something else. Maybe you caught there's something that we covered as an earlier question and you might not have caught, but yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. Thank you everyone for tuning in and for being here. Awesome questions in chat. Really, there were a lot of folks in chat sharing their experiences, having really great questions, very nuanced questions about the certification and building yourself, becoming a better pen tester. So I hopefully it's clear. I can't stress enough how great those questions were and how much I appreciate them. So no, thank you everyone for being here. That is going to do it for today. But as always, until next time, happy hacking and thank you for being here. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone.